You think we're all here to create a super intelligence?
I think that the universe is searching for better and better containers for consciousness.
But we don't get to enjoy that consciousness in any capacity if it goes out of control.
No.
So then
it's
what
not in
use does it
control.
have?
We are not in control of it. That's my point. We are not making it. It's making itself. It's like our entire planet is on a runaway train towards creating this intelligence.
Yeah. Oh, you're saying it's bad. No,
well,
totally.
not necessarily bad. Just like an evolutionary, just like when a caterpillar goes into a cocoon and turns into a butterfly. It's like, I guess that was bad for the caterpillar because the caterpillar doesn't exist anymore. But it's like, that's the life cycle of that organism. And I wonder if the life cycle of our organism is that like every tool building species on every planet eventually builds the tool of like a synthetic hyper intelligence and that's the other thing is like, I don't think it's artificial. I think this word of artificial is crazy. Ants build anthills. It's natural. Everything we make is just our anthill. It's our bird's nest. So to think that like humanity is, somehow like creating something that is outside of nature, I think is like a big misread of what's happening.
I'd like to begin with a fact.
So deep. So deep.
Or in Chicago, New York, or Los Angeles.
You have to go deeper, I think.
Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Nathaniel August Williams. This is Deep Noodle, and thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. If you're listening on iTunes, we'd love a 5-star review. If you're watching on YouTube, do all the things, subscribe, like, all that stuff. I'm so excited for the show today. My guest is a very funny man who I've been friends with for a long time, and I'm happy to have him here. He's a screenwriter. He's an actor and playwright. He was a writer and frequent performer on the Jim Jefferies Show for Comedy Central, where he was nominated for a WGA award. As an actor, he's appeared in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, High Potential, and Orange is the New Black. He's the author of the play Fisheye, and he recently wrote the sequel to the movie Twins with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Danny DeVito, and Ivan Reitman. Mr. Lucas Kavner, thanks for being on the show today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Lucas, are you down for a little? We've got some listener feedback. Get some community engagement.
Great.
Are you down to help?
Please
help. All right. So here's this came in. This is from YouTube. This is user Dr. Bleep Blips. He says, Nate gave me the deep noodle once and I came back for more. So thank you.
I thought it was going to be a question just straight up.
Straight up
about you deep in his noodle.
Well, listen, we shouldn't. Doctor could be a woman.
That's true.
Totally we shouldn't assume that
I won't.
Dr.
Bleeplips could be deep noodle sexual or could be just a brain thing.
Right.
And if some entendres happen, they happen.
Exactly. So Dr. Bleeplips picked up on that. They kindly picked us. So thanks for watching, Dr. Bleeplips. Thanks for your comment. At Eric Jensen Music says, great episode, y'all. Now I'm left wondering why there is consciousness yet again.
Whoa. Was this the last one you talked about consciousness?
This might have been from the episode with Jess. And we talked about she's a writer on Rick and Morty. I think we talked about the multiverse.
Oh, yeah.
So I think there's some maybe the consciousness discussed. Or maybe his mind was just blown by general.
Maybe just the concept of consciousness in general and how we have it.
And it seems, and he's getting it, right? It's the deep part of the noodle.
Yeah.
He's getting the deep part. At David Hunt 313 says, what life form doesn't have to work for a living? Slugs? Would you genuinely want to be a slug rather than a human? Slugs is in all caps and bolded with question mark, exclamation point, and it's ended with all caps, exclamation point. So some context. This was about, this is also from Jess's episode, and she had kind of talked about capitalism being a system that keeps you perpetually sort of unsatisfied with what you have and where you are. So you're sort of always thinking like, oh, if I can just get that promotion or if I can just get a little more money, then I can be happy.
Yeah.
And David Hunt, first of all, I think that slugs probably work pretty hard.
Yeah. I mean, they got to keep pushing or else they're just not moving.
Yeah.
I mean, even to move a few inches, you really got to push your body incredibly hard.
Yeah.
I always think about with ants. It's like, I wish I was an ant. I was like, all they do is work all day
all day.
and all night. It's just like, I gotta stay in this line. I got things to do. Like,
but at least they can lift like many times their body weight, right? Like, so like if they're not carrying anything, they're probably just like having a great time.
Yeah, no, slug seems like an incredibly stressful, just based purely on they can't do anything.
Yeah.
They got to work their ass off to just get from here to a few inches ahead.
From A to B.
What are they doing? There's nothing fun about it. They're not watching anything or consuming anything. They're not really in the woods. They're just on the dirt.
Totally.
Just nothing.
Yeah. Sometimes going over concrete or a driveway, you know?
Yeah. I don't think a slug is preferable.
They got to generate all that like goo too to move around.
Yeah, totally. Too much goo.
Yeah.
And I guess they don't deal with capitalism, which is nice. Maybe they live in a socialist society of slugs.
Yeah, that's a good.
But I don't know. Yeah. We don't know what they do.
We don't know. It's impossible.
But they don't do much.
They don't do much, but it's probably hard.
Super fun.
Whatever they're doing is hard.
Super hard.
Super hard. Yeah. So it's like, would you rather
goo?
I think slugs also have to work for a living. So everything has to work for a living. But David, thanks for watching. Thanks for your comment. I think it's a valid point though, like where does the line between motivation and sort of striving for something better meet the sort of capitalist hamster wheel that I think can be a little bit oppressive?
Totally. It's incredibly oppressive.
Yeah.
And it's the idea that we're just supposed to keep doing this until we die, which is essentially, I was talking to somebody about the game of life recently.
The actual,
which is
the board game?
The board game. And realizing, something that we played growing up and just like just the essence of capitalism, that game. Did you ever play that game?
No, I Monopoly, I think, is my essence of capitalism.
Yeah, totally. All those games about, it's all just, but life especially is just like attain stuff. And then to succeed is just, you have enough money to like die in a nice house at the end, or you just die.
Is that how life ends?
Yeah, it's like you go to these estates, like, can you afford like to die in this nice one? I think, or there's two. There's like the nice retirement or the bad one. But along the way, you just attain insurance and you just want to have the most money when you die in the nice place.
The nice retirement home.
I forget what it's called. Like Waterfall.
Shady Acres.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But,
so they nailed
it. It's just like, you get the kids in the car and then you get insurance, then you get a card that tells you where you live. And if you get a crappy one, that counts against you. And it's just, there's so many of these games that are really trying to bring you down,
Yeah. Or wake you up, right? Isn't it, those, the makers of the game are probably like, once they see the futility mapped out before them.
But don't you think that they actually were like, oh, this is charming because this is like, back then, there really wasn't as dangerous a connotation. It's funny now looking at it and being like, what? This is horrible. This is not a nice way I want to live. I don't want to just attain money and land on a space where maybe you die or something bad happens or you lose your house and all that. It was just like a charming way to look at life.
Right.
But now I was like revisiting it, felt like the most depressing aspects of our capitalist scourge empire to me.
It's kind of like how kids want to play with like a dollhouse or like an oven, like an easy bake oven is like a fun thing for a child because you look around and you're like, this is what everyone's doing. Yeah. This would be fun. And that's like the adult version. You're like, oh, I can kind of have some control over this idea of making money. And
but you don't have it. The point is you both don't have control. And when you do, you're just, the only aim is to just get more stuff until you retire and die and hopefully have enough money to retire.
Who wins the game? What is the winning?
If you have enough money at the end in your
like
retirement.
All the other players don't have enough money?
Well, they don't have as much as you. You win if you have the most money.
Oh, gotcha.
In retirement.
Does anyone else get to die in the nice retirement home or is it only the max?
I don't remember. Now I'm forgetting. I don't remember. I think you still go to retirement if you make it, but you want, like, the idea is to have the most money at the end of the game of life. And then you win life if you had the most money. Just like in real life.
Yeah. You've won. You can like a rosebud, you can die with all your possessions.
Exactly. And he was very happy.
He was so happy. Yeah. That's the point of that movie, right?
That's the point of the movie is that you attain enough stuff that that nothing haunts you and that you only made good choices in life, and then he's like, Rosebud,
Yeah.
that was fun.
That was great.
Yeah, what a great sled. And then he dies, and that's that's why people love that.
That's why
movie.
people love
Yeah.
Citizen Kane.
Oh, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just so you know, it's not every listener
Right,
knows.
right.
Yeah. I was checking my listener demographics, and I think not a single listener below 20 years old. So
Interesting.
yeah, maybe even 25. Like it could be.
Well, we're talking about the scourge of capitalism. That's how we're going to get
That's
the youth.
how we're going to get the youth. Yeah,
That's
the
what
youth.
kids want to hear.
I mean, they should want to hear that.
I think they do.
Get on board. All right, we're going to continue on with some more listener engagement, or as we're troll talk as we're starting to move into.
We're in the trolls.
Here, at the Legend of Flusby or Flusby, not quite sure. At the Legend of Flusby, he says, "Stop making videos, guys. You're 50-plus-year-olds talking about irrelevant things on YouTube. Just a friendly opinion by someone whose algorithm somehow let me watch this crap."
You're 50-year-old.
Yeah.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
We are not 50.
No,
40s, maybe.
40s, maybe.
30s, some.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. Are you still in your 30s?
No, I'm 40.
Oh, you just crossed over.
Yeah.
Oh,
just crossed over, my friend.
Welcome.
But I am not 50.
Yeah.
Flusby.
Yeah, I'm in my early 40s. I mean, 50 plus. Like,
Yeah,
that's not
jeez.
kind.
That's more unkind to our visual appearance.
Yeah, totally. You know, we're very mature and knowledgeable. So maybe if he was just listening, to the podcast, he would assume that we're maybe older. But
Yeah, because we're so smart. I
So
think
smart.
That's maybe a compliment.
and worldly. But I feel like, if anything, I look young for my age and give
I
a
think so
young
too.
vibe. Yeah.
Same.
And you too, for sure.
Yeah, people,
I'd say like
35 and
28. Yeah.
top. Oh, really?
29.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. So
Yeah.
that'll help the algorithm.
That
Is me being on there. Because
Yeah.
they'll be like, oh, wait, no, there's young people on here.
skewing younger. Yeah, skewing younger. And then the other thing I'll just say about this is a friendly opinion about from someone whose algorithm let them watch this crap. It doesn't seem that friendly. It seems
No,
sort of not
friendly.
a friendly.
The least friendly opinion.
It's a very
Really
unfriendly,
mean opinion.
unfriendly
Cruel.
opinion. Yeah, a little bit of an aggressive opinion. But the question he raises, 50-plus-year-olds, we'll say 44-plus-year-olds, 40-plus-year-olds, talking about irrelevant things on YouTube, which the thought has crossed my mind. YouTube's a fairly young focused platform demographically, right?
Mhm.
Where people are young.
Yep.
What do you think you have anything to offer the younger generations?
I think that's what we're trying to see is can our wisdom of age and in an artistic creative
Mhm.
field help perhaps illuminate something for the youth?
Yeah.
Hopefully you could, but
And
can we teach anything? Who knows?
Can we do it?
Boomers kind of screwed us. I don't know
Right.
if I want to hear from them
No.
on many things. So maybe they look at us and don't want to hear from us either.
Well, I think like if you're on a journey, say you're walking through the dark forest of life, I think you most want to hear from the people like right ahead of, like you want to hear from the people that just went around that corner to be like, hey, there's like
Totally.
a hill up here, but you don't want someone who's like made it out of the forest and over the hill and they're like at their campfire. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Or you want someone on their deathbed to give me that perfect pearl of wisdom before they pass.
Yeah.
But nothing between those two places.
Yeah.
Yeah. Either right ahead.
Do you
Or
have
deathbed.
do you have a pearl of wisdom for the dark forest of life?
I'm not on my deathbed.
That's true. I keep
Just
forgetting.
general wisdom. I don't know.
You know.
We'll see.
All right, we'll
Let's
get
see-
there.
we'll see at the end of the
how
podcast.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So yeah, I was thinking about this, and it's like, what is there to offer? And I would just say that I think like this could be it's like weirdos welcome is kind of what I want to say. Like if you're like a sensitive, intellectually curious, like artistic weirdo, like come hang out is kind of what I think. A
Yeah.
little
that's
bit.
Great.
You know what I mean?
Totally. I
Like-
think that's nice.
And I think when I was like young, that's what I would have, like, if I was like, oh, should I be an artist? What's it like out there? What's it like in the forest of art? I would have liked to have heard from people that are like working in this industry.
100%. That's
Yeah.
I think why it's interesting to me to hear interviews and see, the very first thing I ever did writing wise when I moved to New York is I had this blog. I don't know if Fuzby remembers blogs. Perhaps he never dealt with them, but
Yeah.
they were a thing when we were just out of college,
Yeah.
into the world.
Mhm.
And it was called
They're
The
called
Day.
vlogs now.
Are vlogs just TikTok?
Yeah, I think so.
Or
Yeah,
I guess
TikTok.
YouTube is still
YouTube
vlogs,
Shorts. Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of. But
yeah.
I get they call
Ish.
them videos.
Yeah.
But I had a blog, and it was
Mhm.
called The Days of Yore, and
Ah.
it was like interviews, because I was really interested in, speaking of capitalism, how people got to, like, literally the very specifics of like what jobs you had and how you made a living before you were able to do it for a living. But
Right.
like I felt like people
Before
always
you were able to
passed-
be an artist or
Yeah,
follow
yeah.
your bliss,
Right.
follow your dreams.
Yeah. And it was like, I always felt like interviews always, especially in my 20s, I was like, well, people would make a joke about, I used to wait tables, and then I wrote my first book. And it's like, wait a minute, that was probably a long time, and
Yeah.
what you were actually doing and where you were living. And like, I was interested in like how you actually made a living and sustained yourself and all
Yeah.
that stuff. It was about that period.
Did you find any answers to that? Like, was there because it's always like,
It was more that just the system that I thought like before I would have gotten into that place. I think I thought there was more of a track for everything
right
than there is. And now there's even less of a track, I think, even than 20 years ago.
Totally.
But like then, even that everybody had a completely different path. And like, I mean, I remember George Saunders, who was like my favorite writer. He was on the blog,
Yeah.
which
Oh,
was very
nice.
cool.
Oh, that is cool.
And
yeah.
his story was crazy because he like worked on oil rigs and stuff. And
Really?
he
I didn't
wasn't
know that.
even thinking about writing. And then he like saw an interview with, like, I think he was like at a party, and he saw an interview with a writer who talked about like getting a master's on like a table. And he like was like, oh, maybe I should do that. And like just switched over and got a master's degree.
Wait, a master's on a table?
No, like there was a magazine on a
God.
He
Gotcha,
saw a
sorry,
degree,
I
and he was
missed
like,
that,
damn, I
just saw a
put
master's
my name,
laying on
and he
the table.
crossed out that guy's name,
Yeah.
wrote George Saunders,
Yeah.
and then that was his
that was
master's
how we
degree.
started. That was
Yeah.
his path. Yeah.
But just like the idea, like he didn't even know, like he was in his 20s, like he was late 20 or something. He had worked a lot,
Right.
and then like didn't even know, and then other people who were like, I always knew when I was 8 years old I wanted, but just like
Right,
the
right.
difference of stories and like how they got even to that place is very
Yeah.
vast, and it was not, and nothing was set even sort of, and everybody had
Yeah.
a different way in.
Yeah, for sure. It was always the legend of like, everyone had kind of like an origin story legend.
Yes,
That was sort of like
totally.
mythical. And you were like, oh, I have to be discovered on the street, or I have, like I scribbled an idea on a napkin and it fell into an editor's lap at the, and then like,
Yeah, or it was like I just worked my ass off for years
Yeah.
and years and years and years and years, and it was like it's somewhere between those things. It's not, I
Right,
guess
right.
it's like classic of just
Yeah.
luck versus time and all of those things, and everybody's scales were different. So of luck and time and work.
Yeah.
And I think it was just interesting to do that when I was starting out.
Did you have survival jobs? Like, what were some of your?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like, I mean, I had, because I grew up with my parents in the arts.
Right. Oh yeah. Your dad's an actor, right?
He was,
Or was,
yeah, when I was
uh-huh.
growing up. And
What did your mom do?
my mom they met in acting school,
Oh, cool.
but then she left and she started working for like producers and production companies in LA and stuff. But because of that, I feel like I was always like, man, if I just got to find something else.
Like not do that.
Yeah,
Not be,
like
yeah.
even when I really liked it and cared about it and always loved it and had dreams of it, it was like, but I'll eventually find something else to do, and like it'll like, I went to college being like, and science, maybe science, and like or some, I don't know. I just thought somewhere that I would try do something else. So I was,
You'd
even when I
break
got
out.
out, I was like, well, I'll try this, but I'll also have these jobs. Maybe that will ascend. And
You're like, I'm not going to be like you, Dad. I don't want your life, Dad.
or just,
I want to be a lawyer.
yeah. Well, no, I never got that far. The thing is like, I was always like, well, that life seems pretty hard.
The acting life.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
but
artist.
I guess I'll do it anyway. Like it was kind of that kind of thing.
Yeah. It called you. It brought you.
I get, I mean like that, but I tried to do everything else. Like I tried. And
Right.
that's what's crazy is like, you're like, man, I really got to do something else and try all these other things. And then you end up back there anyway. It's kind of inevitable.
That is interesting. Like if it's really your calling or really the thing that, you love, you sort of find your way back to it.
Yeah.
Or it finds you, one or the other. You've written for the New Yorker, which is something that, like, I have to say, like, one of my dreams in life was like to be interviewed on NPR and to write for the New Yorker. Those are the sort of like, because my parents always really liked those things. Well, what is it like? What's it like to write for the New Yorker? How does was that a goal of yours? Did that just kind of happen?
Totally. I remember growing up weirdly, I loved the cartoons.
Yeah, sure.
And then I just would read the funny shouts and murmurs. And then it was a goal. I feel like I submitted for like 2 or 3 years and then
interesting
got one in or something. And
right.
then they, it's still hard every time, but like, you can
But then
submit
they
to
know
the
you.
thing too and just submit funny pieces and they take them in and it's cool.
I did the caption writing contest for a while, but they didn't choose any of my.
Those are hard. Yeah, I feel like it's not the funniest one that wins. It's almost like the least not offensive one. It's almost like Oscar voting or something.
Yeah, mine were very racial, so I don't know. Maybe there was a lot of racial jokes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That probably wouldn't
they didn't
help
like
you.
Yeah,
yeah.
No, I found that there was like a formula actually to them that once you started to see the winners, but it was basically like you would take the visual image and then you'd have to sort of like make a connecting word pun about like the two sort of things that were happening. This is gonna be hard to explain without actually seeing it or being able to give a concrete example.
But you wanted it bad.
Do
you think that
I would have felt it would have been a little? Yeah, I guess I wanted it bad. Sure, yeah.
Do you think you want, just because it seems like that part of you is like, I want to be on it. If I got on an interview on like Fresh Air, my parents would be proud.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's part of it.
For sure.
Yeah.
I would like come full circle. I think you're just like in the kitchen, like playing with your toys and your parents are like, shut up, NPR's on, and you're like, if only I could be on NPR, They weren't that mean. I don't know why.
Shut up, boy.
Shut up.
I'm listening to Terry Gross.
Exactly. Yeah. No, they're very nice. But yeah, I'm sure it had to do with my.
Yeah. That makes sense. Mine was always Conan. If I could be
on
that original late night Conan show, I was like, then I made it.
Yeah. You've never done Conan?
Nope, haven't done Conan yet.
You're like not far from that.
I think because I pivoted to the writing side. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but maybe. And also, he doesn't have a show anymore, which will probably make it harder. I guess
tough.
The podcast.
You could bring him back. You could.
I'll bring him back for one show. Here's writer Lucas Kavner and an occasional actor. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. Speaking of acting, how was The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel? I was doing that show.
It was great. It was really fun. I feel like sometimes now when I do the acting, it'll be as a writer. So they really
playing a writer.
Yeah. So I was she gets a job on a late night show on the show as a writer, one of the first
Conan
female
O'Brien.
writers.
Yeah.
Yes, on Conan O'Brien in 1960.
Yeah.
And I played one of the late night writers and it was fun. It was a really, it was supposed to be like a few months and then it ended up being like 7 or 8 months or something in New York, which was
awesome.
Nice. But what happens, and you'll see when you have a child, is that you think that part of being in this business is you have to go places all the time. And especially now when things don't shoot here at all,
right?
You end up being there all the time. Or somewhere else all the time. And that was in New York City for a long, cold period. And when you have a child, you end up really missing your child.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. So that makes like some of these jobs now a little tougher when you think about being away from your kid.
For sure.
As you'll find out.
Yeah. I do have a kid, as the loyal listeners know, and he's very young, and I haven't had to be away from him for more than like 3 days so far. But even then, it was, we've talked about this, but they change so quick. You miss stuff.
I would like come back after a couple of weeks, and he'd have new words and new things he was doing, and I'd be like, oh man, and like you miss Halloween, and there's just that part of it gets tougher but you also have to do it, and that.
Has that changed has that pushed you more towards writing, or it's like less?
I think totally.
Yeah.
I think it's
right?
like, if it's a fun job, it's still, I'd like to do those jobs, and they usually don't shoot here in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
But it definitely makes writing a little bit more appetizing. You do them from anywhere, and you don't have to be away from your family.
Yeah.
But I used to think is like, oh, it's great. You get to be away from your family for a little while and go. But now, like, it's, I was in New York City, where we grew up and came up, and it was, but it's so funny. It's like, 15 years passed, and 15 years ago, just would have been living a completely different life. And what it doesn't seem that long a time, like 15 years, but it was like, I'm walking down places where we were at all the time, and you're like, just with your takeout, like, I used to go to that bar after 10 p.m. and now it's 9:45. Speaking of being old from that commenter, it's like, I can't stay up past 10 anymore. In New York City. But I was like walking down these streets, was like, oh man, I remember being young here. Well, time to eat my takeout food back in my hotel room.
Go right to
and
bed.
there was a little of that in New York City, because it is a town for the youth. I'm impressed by people who are like lifers in New York and are like, I still want to hit the town hard, like, as I age into.
Yeah. I've had the thought that like New York is a great place for your 20s and 30s, and then you want to like come to LA for your
or just
later,
go somewhere else.
Montana or
something.
Minnesota.
I respect people who don't and want to stick and still enjoy the sort of struggle of it. Because it was definitely apparent this time. Because it was just like, I don't know. How do I get groceries? I got to walk with them for 15 blocks to get back here. And the bag's breaking. It's freezing cold. And the subway steps, and it's crowded. And it's just like, I thought in my 20s I would be there kind of forever. And
I had that same feeling.
Did you?
Yeah. Well, it was either New York or LA. And at a certain point I was just like, well, I'm never going to go to LA. I don't know.
I know. And I grew up here, and so I never thought I would come back.
Yeah. You're from here. This is a return.
I know. And I never thought I would.
Son.
I never thought the prodigal son of LA returns to Winchell's Donuts.
Do you think that New York is still the same place it was for us in our 20s, for kids in their 20s, or people, young folks in their 20s, the young listeners of the show?
I kind of do. I don't think I think people who say, obviously things have changed. Like in Williamsburg, where I was living, because the studio was right there, it was just like where there was a beer garden and nothing else is now. There's now a Paul Smith store and a Polo, and it's just like, I mean, it's fully Soho'd itself.
Totally.
But I also think that it's still New York, and you're still with your friends, and there's still fun places to go, and there's still shows happening, and it's still New York. So I would always recommend somebody go there first,
right?
If you can,
over
here, kind of,
just like live in Bushwick, go to cool shows at warehouses.
That's the time you want to go, and then 15 years later you return, and you're like, I used to go to cool shows. I'm 40.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think you're right. I think like it's just, I'm sure when we got there in the 90s,
not me,
the
my
late
friend.
90s,
That's
early
you.
2000s.
When did I get to
I got
New
there
York?
in 99. So.
Did you? Oh, because you went to college there.
Yeah.
I did not go to college there. So I got there in 2007.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I
could have shown you. I could have shown you a couple.
So you were there for 9/11.
Yeah, I was there for 9/11. Yeah. I was very close to 9/11. I went down to 9/11 and if this doesn't talk about the times on a web, I rollerbladed down to Ground Zero. I rollerbladed right
in
into
your pads and helmet.
No
gas mask.
Yeah. No, none of that. Just my probably a backpack, and right into the dust, the toxic dust. Just like going down to see what was going on. I felt like I have this impulse where like when something big happens in the town, I'm like, I want to go and like see this thing or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
I haven't done that with the horrible fires in LA, because it seems like possibly an unhealthy place, and like maybe they don't need people like rubbernecking at the cleanup and stuff. But
I did go look at Altadena because there's so many friends and places and things, and I felt like it's right near our house, so I had to
totally.
Go
you guys
look,
are
and
close
it is
there.
a crazy experience.
Yeah,
it's really rough.
I've seen the pictures, and everyone I've talked to that has gone around. It's like hard to
but 9/11 for you had to see it. And you loved it.
I loved every moment of it. Best day of my life.
You were leading tour groups in your rollerblades.
Yeah.
Nate's Crazy New York Tours.
Yeah, step right up. I followed a reporter who was on a bicycle and who somehow knew, because there were barricades and cops everywhere. They did not want you down there. And this guy somehow knew how to get her. So I was just following this guy down. And so he was leading me on a tour. I was actually on a tour.
Cop. You were just sneakily following behind in your blades.
Yeah, and the blades. No one suspects a guy on blades.
Why did rollerblades go out? Is it just the times? Was there something that happened?
I mean, I think there's probably still people blading.
It's not like bikes go out of style.
Bikes don't go out. I mean, there's a lot of
rollerblades though went out of style.
That
was like
go
a
out of
real
style.
thing. For a second.
Yeah. Maybe it was that like Aziz Ansari joke that got real famous in the early 2000s. Remember, like, what's the hardest part about rollerblading? Telling your parents that you're gay.
Oh,
have you heard that?
No.
And no, like obviously.
Whoa.
Yeah. Don't cancel me. Cancel Aziz Ansari. But I do feel like it got a lot of hate. Like people were really hard on rollerblades. And the society turned.
Society turned on them because of
us bladers,
the homosexuality element.
Yeah, they could.
That you, Nathan
specifically brought.
Nathaniel specifically did not like.
Yeah, specifically me.
But
then there's also like the scooters and the e-scooters and the little like what are those like one-wheeled things that came around? I feel like there's a whole explosion of sort of like weird personal
but nobody uses those
device.
either. You ever see people on those? I feel like one guy, one person every couple of weeks I'll see on one of those scooters.
Yeah, totally.
But I guess Lime scooters replace them.
Yeah.
You have bikes, you have Lime scooters.
I took some gnarly falls on those rollerblades. So it could just be a thing where people are like, well, I broke my wrists too many times. Like, I'm going to move on. I used to ride rollerblade to class. And I one time thought a hose was just like a bump in the sidewalk. And I mean, it was like a hose will stop you on a dime if you're on rollerblades. There's not a like more dangerous obstacle than a hose if you don't see it.
Yeah. No, I mean, hoses will probably screw. Well, I guess on a bike, you just go right over
on a bike.
Rollerblades, man.
You got to leap. You got to do a
hoses will screw
leap.
you.
Talk to me about Twins 2.
Twins
2, Arnold
2.
Yeah. What was the story? How'd you get involved?
Yeah, I mean, okay. So I let's see, how far back do we go here?
Start from the beginning.
Well,
you were reading Screenplay by Sid Field.
Interesting. No, how did I get involved? I mean, so for those of you who are curious, in screenwriting, a lot of what happens is, you'll send a script out and then you sort of have meetings with all these production companies and then what happens is you start, I guess, hearing about like, oh, we've been looking for somebody to do this thing, somebody to do this project here. We've always had an idea about this. Do you have any ideas about that? And a lot of times you end up chasing a kind of wild goose with those things. And it's like, oh, I've been doing this for a year and I don't know what's happening. And then sometimes, that's how you make money, is working for 2 months on a pitch or something. And you have to sort of play the lottery of like, will this go or not? And if not, I just wasted 2 months doing nothing and I got nothing to show for it. Or I succeeded and I, made, sold this thing and now I get paid for it. It's a very difficult, kind of funny life.
How often are you finding you can get paid for like that development period where
development you don't? I mean, that's what is, I think a lot of the Writers Guild questions that are happening now are over that period of time, because there's a lot of times what companies will do is like kind of string you along for, as long
years.
as possible.
Yeah.
To have these development things, you have to really kind of push them along, or else you'll be stuck in the soup of developing stuff for no money or very little money. But you get paid once you sell it, so that if there's a sort of light at the end of the tunnel for a lot of these things, you're like, okay, well, if I can just get this many months of free, then I can sell it and make money at the end. And so usually you'll try to go for those. And so this was like, we've been wanting to make a Twins sequel, and other people had tried to write one and it hadn't worked out.
For people who don't know Twins, can you?
Twins.
For the 15-year-olds, the 20-year-old listeners.
Oh yeah, for the Fuzzby. We're calling him Fuzzby, right?
Legend of Fuzzby. Yeah,
Fuzzby.
yeah.
Here's the thing. Twins. Yeah, Twins was a movie from the 1980s that was about Danny DeVito, who is Danny DeVito.
Yeah, we know.
Legendary man, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, another
we know him.
legendary, strong man. He's taller.
Yeah.
Danny DeVito's smaller. Different sizes.
Mhm.
That's sort of the main
the visual
comedy, the visual of them both together. And the joke is that it turns out they're long lost twin brothers from a botched sort of science experiment.
Yeah.
So they
Great setup.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a botched science experiment, and,
Yeah.
and they find each other and they become very close through some foibles. And so that it was a huge hit, like a massive hit, which hearing the concept now, it's nothing, you don't come close to anything that strange making hundreds of millions of dollars.
no.
But it did. And actually the funny thing about that first Twins movie is it was like one of the first times that the actors were like, we believe in this so strongly that we will take no money basically up front.
Oh.
All of our money will come from if this is a success.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And Arnold had been, especially very gung-ho. He had like cornered Ivan Reitman at a ski lodge or something and like, I can do comedy. I promise you I can do comedy. You have to see. And so he had, he was really, really passionate about doing comedy, and he ended up being super funny too and super charming. But they ended up, making a ton of money off that movie too, because
it's just pre-Terminator, right? It's just pretty early in his career, I want to say.
I think it was pre-Terminator.
Yeah.
He had done a bunch of other stuff.
It was like Conan. It's like
he was
after
like
Conan the
successful
Barbarian. Yeah,
and
he
a
was
known
like,
quantity and obviously a bodybuilding legend.
Right.
And
But it was
documentary and all that stuff.
Yeah,
but I think Terminator was, I want to say 90.
Yeah, I think it was
something like that.
87. I think.
Oh, well then
Terminator.
I think Twins was after then.
Oh.
Maybe after T1, post T2.
I'm gonna find out. If only there was some way we could.
Okay, let's
we
look
could,
it up.
We
I
could
should know
this
the
for
years.
Sure. You just keep talking while I do this.
Well, yeah. So anyway, that's the incredibly lengthy backstory to the movie Twins.
1984 is the Terminator.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, why did I think it was later? So he had done the Terminator.
So he was huge.
Yeah.
And probably maybe he was trying to soften up his image a little bit.
Well, yeah, but I also think he was a funny guy. He liked comedy and wanted to sort of switch it up,
break out a little bit.
Yeah, and Ivan Reitman was like the guy, the comedy guy. He'd done Ghostbusters and all that stuff. Anyway,
Twins was 88, so yeah, 4 years post.
Yeah,
post Terminator.
So he was already the man.
Yeah.
He was he was the biggest star,
in the world,
and still is
huge,
just crazy. I mean, I've like walked around with him before, and he is it's like parting a Red Sea of people, and like him and Danny together too. You're just like, oh my god,
wow.
like God. I mean, it's
where were you walking with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
We had like a meeting, and then we were walking down a street.
Yeah.
But it was just like a street.
Oh my god.
A real LA street.
Yeah.
And it was it was crazy because it was, there's just not a lot of people that like you're just walking and it's just like, whoa, like
yeah.
What? Like it's just crazy to see.
He's a legend. I mean,
and then seeing him
legend.
with Danny is just like, no way. What are they doing together?
I mean,
it was really
the Beatles
cool.
back together.
Yeah. It kind of was. It was just, it's fun. It's fun to see them. But yeah, so that came, they were trying to get somebody to write a sequel for a while. And I think they tried with some writers and they liked something that I had written. So then basically they were like, you come and pitch. And actually, this was the first time I brought my friend of mine, Dylan Dawson, who I wrote that movie with. I was like, man, this is crazy. Like, pitching to these huge, it was just a lot of meetings. I was like, this would be better to have a pal.
Yeah.
So you're not, because sometimes by yourself, when you're in you're a lot of Zoom meetings as a writer, and you're just like, there's like 6 people giving you notes. And you're like, it just is easier if you have someone else on your team a little bit. And I think that's a good advertisement for like a writing partner in some of these larger projects and stuff. But so I brought him on, and we sort of went up the gauntlet. You pitch an idea for it, and we pitch, and they're the first person is like, oh, that sounds good. Pitch my boss. Oh, that sounds good. Pitch the director. Oh, that sounds good. Pitch, Danny. Oh, that sounds good. Pitch Danny and Arnold. And then the original one was actually Eddie Murphy. So then you pitch Eddie Murphy.
Wait. How was Eddie Murphy involved?
He was the triplet because it was twin sequel was triplets.
Oh.
So he was their third brother.
Oh, that's the pitch of the movie.
Yes,
yes. You had not mentioned
sorry. Yeah. That was the pitch. And that was Arnold's idea the whole time.
I want Eddie Murphy.
He wanted that. He thought that was funny that he was their third brother.
Have you seen Beverly Hills Cop 2?
That's good. Yeah. That's what he said.
Yeah.
And so then you just go up the gauntlet, and then finally they were like, yeah, sounds good. So then we wrote it for over the pandemic. And and then we were about to shoot the movie.
Yeah.
And sadly, Ivan Reitman, the director, passed away.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And that killed the project. Is there no way that it's maybe
and this is actually public now, actually. That they wanted to still do it, but his son, Jason Reitman, he didn't want to do it anymore.
Oh,
and
no.
then it was, for whatever reason, he had his things. I think we weren't going to say something, but then Arnold did an interview where he was like, Jason Reitman fucking killed it. And we were like, okay, guess we can say it.
Oh, man.
Bummer.
That's
But it was,
total bummer.
I think it was sort of, I don't know. It was sad
Yeah,
that it was happening, and it was the last thing he was working on. We were talking to him all the way up until the end.
Oh, man. I mean, if that isn't the most brutal Hollywood welcome to showbiz type,
Yeah. For us, you mean?
bad beat. Yeah, for you.
Yeah.
Also for him, maybe a little bit too. But he's had a long storied career. But that's a tough.
I mean, so many things. It's a hard business, and any amount of things you'll just get it. That's what's so hard about it is we came from comedy world where we were performing every night, and you would just go and do the thing, and then the thing happens and you perform it.
Yeah.
And then and I came from theater world and writing and plays, and it was like you write something and you put it up and people see it, or you write a play or an article, and there it is.
Yeah.
And I think now getting into screenwriting world, it's what's hard about it is you work and work and work so hard, and then you literally just get a phone call like, "Nah, it's over." You're like, oh, "All right, trash." But it's just it does feel sometimes.
Yeah,
that's the hard part about it is the grind.
The grind for a very uncertain payoff.
Totally.
I think part of the joy of being an artist is the sort of culmination of all the hard work and effort, and it feels like with writing, you just have to be so process oriented. You really have to love the process, because so few of these screenplays get made. And you know what I mean? Maybe if you write books, you have I don't know. Even you can self-publish, I guess, but same thing. It might not get published. People really have to like it. So
now you can self-publish though, which is nice.
Yeah.
It's even if I strike out at this, I can put it out and it is a piece of writing. A screenplay, you can't really do anything with it. And even a television pilot, you even if it, they're making less of them now, but you used to make an actual show, and then that finished thing no one would ever get to see, either. So it is you have to love the process, but it's also the only way to make a living as a screenwriter, which is a crazy thing. It's just here, work really hard for and receive many feedback, and you're dealing with sort of the taking notes from many people and incorporating those. And there's so many things coming at you as you write a book. You're just by yourself for however many years, and no one's giving you anything, and then you're done. Yeah. And then hopefully people get to read it. But it's a very specific, I didn't know, you don't know anything when you're starting, but screenwriting and the process of it and all of the things that are part of it, and how it's really, a large part of it is sales.
Right. Yeah.
Which is such a funny aspect of it. And they don't tell you.
You mean in the pitching?
Yeah. But or just even when you're not pitching, even when you're trying to sell your kind of idea to many people by talking about it, and you're selling ideas before you write it. And so much of the process is you have you have the pitch, and you have to sell the pitch, and then you have to sell the outline of the story, and you have to sell the beats, and you have to sell, there's just a lot of kind of selling the thing as opposed to the writing of the thing.
Yeah. And a lot of cooks in the kitchen, a lot of feedback. I mean, you've got stakeholders kind of at every level.
Totally. And a lot of times what's really funny is when you work really hard on like a pitch or an outline or something, and you sell it, and then you have the like that person then has to tell their boss, and you're like, so what are you going to say to them? Like what I just said that took like 45 minutes. And they're like, I'll just sort of sum it up. And you're like, okay, can I be there for that? No, I'll just sum it up. And you're like, okay. Like there's so many, the person above the person above the person. Like we did something for like years at a studio, and and it was one of those things where you're like waiting, and apparently they were like, okay, like we're talking to our boss today. And we're like, okay, and that went well. Okay, now we're talking to that person's boss. Okay, let us know what happens. Like, okay, that went well. Now we're talking to the head of the whole studio. Yeah, he didn't like it. You're like, but why just that guy? Like, who's that guy? Like, why does he? I guess like it just like it's such a collaborative thing, but really it just comes down to like bosses of bosses of bosses of bosses. That's what's very funny about it.
Yeah, that is tough. How do you have like a like a spiritual sort of Zen place that you found? Like, how do you deal with the rejection and the sort of constant
I think the only
uncertainty?
Spiritual Zen you find is just that the more you do it, the like less precious every one of them gets. And I think that's the only way no one like loves rejection or gets chill with rejection of something you worked hard on by the end. I think it's just when you've done it enough and you keep doing it, you're like, it's part of it, and I have to let this go and not be incredibly precious about this. And that's really hard, especially when because it's not like you're just, even if you take a job that you didn't originate yourself and you're doing it based on something else, you're still putting yourself and your time and your energy, and you care about it and the characters, and same thing with anything you would write.
Yeah.
And so then to just sort of let it go, but you do kind of, I think that process just gets easier the more you do it, is just letting it go.
Right.
And being like, what's going to happen is completely out of my control.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still not fun. Rejection still sucks.
Yeah.
And it happens constantly.
Yeah.
I almost feel like it happens more, well, I guess as an actor too, like you're just rejected every week multiple times because you get only a few jobs a year.
Yeah, but that is like, at least like with an actor, it's like if it's a commercial audition, you didn't put in any work, you just like sat in the lobby and like, but like, and at home, maybe if for a theatrical audition, you've like memorized the lines or whatever, but you've put in a couple days work,
right?
And then it's
but
like you can
years.
let it go. Yeah, it's not years. And the stakes of these projects are so high. It's like if that movie gets made and it's a hit, it can like totally change the trajectory of your career. I mean, same is true, I suppose, for some acting stuff, but it's like you invest years into these projects that could like completely change your life. And then to have it just be like snuffed out by some studio
constantly. And what's funny is like I think you do have to practice a sort of Zen about it, or else like that's literally the most important thing you can do with it. Because otherwise, because you literally cannot you can control even writing the greatest thing for whatever reason. Like, the head, like, oh man, we have this, there was something I had written that was like, I was like, this is the best thing I've ever done. And I was so proud of it. I worked so hard. And then you would hear like, oh, we just got something else that says like, there's one on page 10, there's something similar that happens in this other thing. So it's done. Sorry. Like, yes. It'll just completely out of, I guess the same as an actor. It's like, oh, actually they want a brown haired person. I remember one of the first jobs I had in New York was I was like walking through a office with like a family friend, and like there was a casting director in the office, and they were casting a movie, and he was like, I need an assistant if you want to come. And I was like, okay, I'll be your assistant. And he was casting this French director, big French director's movie. And I had never seen this process before, but it was like you would meet in the Four Seasons Hotel in this like French director's like suite.
Yeah.
And like like all these amazing like New York theater actors who I'd seen like coming in and like all the best ones for this like very silly thing.
Right.
And it was but it was like all the best actors always coming into this office and into this hotel suite or whatever.
Right.
And like I was like, oh, all these people are so good. Oh my God. And then the French guy at the end, it was like just looking through all the pictures. And he's like, who is the guy with the funny eyes? It's like, what? It's like the funny eyes. It's like, I don't know. That guy? It's like, yes. Okay, him. And you're like, the funny eyes. Like, and that was it. That was all he remembered and cared about. And it was like literally like, oh, Tony Award winning actor. You know, it's just you cannot control.
It was Steve Buscemi though, and he does a very funny eyes,
the funniest eyes.
Funniest eyes.
No, it wasn't even funny eyes. That was the thing. He just had normal eyes,
right?
But he thought they were funny eyes,
right?
And you just the emblematic of you cannot control.
You can't control
so much. You can't control
so much. You can't control
in the arts.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about something that is very much in our control. We both love aliens.
We love aliens.
And I think we, as citizens of this country, we have a lot of input into how our government handles aliens.
We do.
We do. Yeah.
Every year we fill out a survey about what we should do about aliens.
Right.
And they listen.
They listen intently. But you were talking to this about me, and you told me, and I didn't know this, but apparently there's a new documentary that's coming out.
There's it coming out at South by Southwest that I wish I could see, but it's this, there were all these UFO. There was that guy who worked for that government. I forget his name, but he worked for that government office that apparently was dedicated to UFOs.
Yeah.
And he came out and was like, "There's UFOs." And there was a hearing, but I guess like some people said he was a quack or something, and I don't really know why, but we were all supposed to believe, he was a quack or something.
Well, let's keep talking about this, but we're going to do something for the first time on Deep Noodle. We're going to watch the trailer.
Oh,
you
cool.
ready for this?
Yeah.
Now, the way I was going to do this, I had this all set up, and I had a button I was going to push that made it happen, but I left the mouse over there, so I'm going to have to get up.
Is there a trailer?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Let's watch.
Yeah. All right, we got this all queued up here.
Okay, here we go.
Here we go.
The American people are ready to receive the truth.
Humanity is not the only intelligence in the universe.
Humanity is not the only intelligent species.
We are absolutely not alone.
Non-human intelligence exists.
UAPs are real, they're here, and they're not human. I spent 25 years as a senior official with the CIA.
I worked on highly classified UAP programs.
28 years as an astrophysicist.
I served as the 4th Director of National Intelligence.
Director of Aviation Security in the National Security Council.
A one-star admiral after 32 years of service.
People that come forward with this, I feel like they've taken their life in their own hands.
I was recruited to a highly sensitive government program that investigated unidentified aerial phenomena.
For over 16 years, on behalf of the U.S. government, I worked as a senior intelligence official on the unidentified aerial phenomenon topic.
We learned that the U.S. government was involved in a long-running secret war with other nations to collect and reverse engineer vehicles not made by humans.
I have seen with my own eyes non-human craft and non-human beings.
And
There's a whole fleet of them.
The first country that cracks the code on this technology will be the leader for years to come.
China has established its own version of a UAP task force.
You think for a second that they wouldn't consider using it to achieve their ends of domination?
This is similar to the Manhattan Project. This is the atomic weapon on steroids.
This is so secret. Very, very few people in our entire government have been allowed access to it.
Even presidents have been operating on a need-to-know basis, but that begins to ramp out of control.
It's not acceptable to have secret parts of government that no one ever sees.
You better be careful about a government that doesn't trust its people, because there's no telling what they'll pull on you.
This is the biggest discovery in human history.
You had information being locked away that could change the trajectory for species.
It has so many beneficial impacts, including clean energy.
We should have disclosure today. We should have disclosure tomorrow. The time has come.
What else you want to know?
What else do you want to
What
know?
else do you want to know?
Damn.
Coming soon. So this just premiered at South by Southwest, as I understand it.
Here's my thing, man.
Yeah, talk to me about this.
With
You're
aliens.
stoked. Yeah,
I'm stoked. I love this. I love UFO stuff, but I always don't understand. It's like all these guys. These are like senators, generals. Like these are the people who are supposed to have this information, and they're even saying like presidents don't have it.
Yeah.
And the guy who ran the task force is like, it's out there, but like who's locking it up?
The deep
You're
state.
supposed to be, but yeah, I guess, but like the president would have that if it's the CIA or something like that. That's what's, that'll get you conspiracy brains.
Yeah.
If you're just like, well, they know it's there, but like, I don't know. That's where I get lost in the sauce a little bit.
And I certainly don't have all the answers to this, but
You don't?
I know. But my understanding is that the intelligence apparatus is very fragmented, and that like, congressmen, they come in for like 4 years, you know what I mean? And it's like, there's some real dodos that end up being Congress. So
Trump
they're not going
wouldn't
to tell
have
them
been
everything.
like, there's aliens here. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why is it secret? That's where I get a little lost, and I don't understand.
Well,
like that guy who's being the whistleblower and ran the group that was doing this for the government.
Right.
Where is the stuff?
Yeah. Where is the
Show
stuff?
us.
Well, they can't. So to take the side of the alien whistleblowers.
Aliens?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you
to speak for the aliens. Beep boop blup. They can't say anything that is classified or illegal for them to say, right? So that's like a whole bunch of stuff right off the plate. And so I think that the people that want the disclosure would argue that like everyone is trying their very best to say like, hey, this is real and it exists without saying anything that would get them thrown into jail.
Right. Because it's still classified.
Still
by
classified. By someone.
But we don't know who.
Yeah, we don't
is
know
classifying
who.
this stuff.
Right. Some deep intelligence military. I mean, it seems to me that's not impossible to think that there are government organizations that have to sort of like endure through the administration, the turnovers administration, right? So if you're really like on the front lines of like cyber warfare with Russia and China, right? Like you've got a bunch of secrets that you can't just like give out to every.
Totally. You can't give out military secrets. I would understand.
Like even to the president, right? Like,
right. But I do think it's interesting then that this guy, but if you run that group, like you then like you would have seen then that classified information.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Or otherwise, but he ran it for 15 years.
Yeah. But isn't that what they're doing?
I don't know. Is he going to be like, so what I saw was this? Because he's now out of it and telling people that it exists, but yet he can't. Like if you ran this organization, like even if they like if you had seen an alien, I think like you would be like, okay, I saw an alien. It looked like this,
right?
And then it's in a box in this place.
Yeah.
They'd be like, you're going to jail. Like I don't.
Right.
Like I feel like you could still say what you saw. I don't understand why he.
No,
like
I think I think that is what they would do.
You think of the
They'd be
documentary?
like,
he
you're
goes,
going to jail.
I saw the alien. It's in a box and it looks like this.
I don't think they do that. But I think if you did, ostensibly,
it'd be worth it. If I'm whistleblowing and I'm saying it exists, I'm going full whistleblow.
Yeah, you've got like a Snowden. There should be an alien Snowden.
Yes. Where's our alien Snowden?
Where's our alien Snowden?
Well, that's why. And I
Bob Lazar maybe is our,
Bob Lazar.
That's my alien.
Oh, that's your alien.
That's my alien name. Yeah.
Okay.
No, Bob Lazar is like a government contractor who apparently like was brought in. I mean, he's not like the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Like head of the Joint
I think
Chiefs.
I've seen that guy's name.
Yeah. He's like a very old alien guy, and he like apparently went in and saw. It was like he was an engineer and he had to like reverse engineer the the anti-gravity engines, and he saw the bodies and stuff like that or whatever. So like
he saw the dead bodies of the aliens.
Apparently.
And
and
does
the
he
ship.
say what they look like?
I think so. Yeah, I think he draws pictures of them in his journals and stuff like that. Yeah,
Oh,
there's some
there's
some docs on him that are out there, but I think he was largely dismissed as a crackpot, or a liar. Or
Well, that's the thing. They'll say that you dismiss as crackpots, and that's become the thing.
Yeah.
But even though a lot of these were accurate, but they were dismissed. But I do think it's funny that like for years, so many of these can be, all of the alien shows on the History Channel, all that stuff. Like you go a little deeper and you're like, oh, a lot of these were disproven and all this stuff. This one is the first where it's like all of these incredibly powerful people saying it's real. But I feel like you will watch that documentary and I fear that it'll just be like, it's real. And I'll tell you, it's real. And I saw them and it's real. I was a general and I saw that it's real. And it's still be like, all right, well, we need something else at this point. It's been like a lot of years of being like, this is a real video of a ship flying and we don't know what it is. And it's like, okay, where's our Snowden, man? Where's our alien
The video
Snowden?
is real, but we can't, it can't
we
be
need
like,
something else.
This is the T90 craft from the, Jablor plebe species.
We need one guy to do that
Yeah.
and it to be credible.
Yeah.
That's what I'm waiting for.
Okay. So where do you fall on the whole alien thing? Like you think, like, do you believe, like, do you want to, do you
100%?
I'm like,
I want it bad.
to
I don't believe there's any way that none of this is real.
Yeah.
Something of this is real.
Yeah.
I don't think this many people of this stature could possibly, but I don't understand why then it stops at a certain point and you just end up having a bunch of just like hearsay and whatever.
Could it be just a whole bunch of mysterious and inexplicable like footage
coincidences
and, like
drones?
Yeah, exactly, basically. But it's just like this, like if there's obviously UAPs, right? Unidentified aerial phenomenon. So it's like it's true that there are things that we don't know what they are, but that doesn't mean that they're alien. It just means like our cameras were bad or they had like a weird glare on their lens.
Yeah, a lot of them can be like, when an Air Force pilot is like, I saw something you'd never seen before and it's moving crazy ways. It's like, it could be your watch light.
Yeah, it's a glint on
a
your
thing.
Yeah.
A lot of times when I see that, that's less convincing to me for some reason. Like there's videos where I watch and I'm like, I don't know, it's a balloon, I don't know.
And there have been a bunch of those and a lot of them have been debunked. I mean, even some of the videos that they showed there, which is like the famous TikTok video. Are you familiar with all these videos?
Most of them.
Yeah.
The
So there's like the
TikTok
TikTok one's very famous and that's like 20 years old. That was 2004 at this point. And so, and there have been a lot of people on the internet that are like, here are the like 6 things I did to recreate this exact phenomenon. It was like the camera was inverted. There was like this, blah, blah, blah. And so even some of these have sort of been attempted to be debunked. I think the reason they still play is that they haven't, in the same way that we don't know exactly what they are, we can't also be like, well, it's definitely a glare,
No, we can't. Exactly.
So it's like this.
But then you got all these people.
Yeah.
From the government.
Yeah.
And they're high up.
Yeah.
These are senators and House Congress people. And they're like, this exists. This intelligence is somewhere.
Yeah, totally.
But again, it's like,
but
we need one more. We're like, we've been at the precipice for years.
Yeah.
We need I saw it. It looks like this. Here's a picture.
Yeah. You need someone to be like, aliens are here. They're from star B97 in the 4th quadrant of the, like Solaris.
Also, like the aliens, they just keep flying around. Like at this point, what do you...
You've seen it all.
They're flying around again. Land.
Yeah.
And walk around a little bit.
Right.
And
why do they crash? That's my other thing too. It's like, if you can travel hundreds of millions of light years, like you're going to crash on the planet.
They crash or they get shot down?
There's no way we're shooting them down.
We don't know what it is. Does it crash in like in Area 51 or whatever?
Yeah, they're these like incredibly advanced like anti-gravity ships that can like fly underwater and out in the sky, and then they're like, oh no.
Beep,
you know
boop,
what I mean?
beep.
Yeah, beep, boop, right?
Beep, boop, beep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a question. But this guy says he saw him.
Yeah.
I think it has to. There can't be this many people, there can't be this many people.
Yeah.
Who know something is there
Yeah.
at those levels, and for it to not be something. There's something. It can't be completely nothing.
To me, this movie feels like did you ever see Loose Change? Like the 9/11 documentary, conspiracy documentary. And it's like, if you put enough scary music and people connecting like random dots together and scary,
but that
weird
one
videos.
is stupid. Like that stuff is,
I don't know, man. The temperature at which steel burns.
The thing is like the UFO thing at this point, it's not it transcends conspiracy when you have enough people of a certain level being like, I have seen
sure
intelligence. I have seen these things.
Yeah.
I ran the program.
Right.
And here's the thing. If you had like the head of the military during 9/11 saying, yeah, there's some shit. Like, I don't know, not just a guy putting together a video.
Yeah,
I don't
for
know.
sure.
I
for
feel
sure.
like it lends some credibility.
And I think
others would argue the government does not lend itself credibility. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it could go either way. I mean, and so that seems to be the point of this movie, is that they want the higher ups, whoever is keeping these things, they want the disclosure. Give us the disclosure now. Show me the disclosure.
The whole movie is hopefully an hour and a half being like, show us the disclosure.
Yeah.
Where is the disclosure? Hey, I'm Senator Douglas and I want to see that disclosure.
Yeah, I think that might be a lot of
that the movie?
what it is. Yeah.
Oh no.
Because
I hope they show some aliens in there.
There was nothing in that trailer that
they're not going to show the alien in the
hadn't
trailer
seen before. Well, you'd think if they had something that hadn't already hit the media cycle, that maybe we would have seen a little glimpse.
Not
of
in
it
the
or a
trailer.
piece of it. Not in the trailer.
They're not revealing that.
That's their crown jewel. That's the.
What was the thing that came out? Like, I mean, there were certain Trump books, and it was like, we're waiting until the book comes out to reveal he actually like took a shit on the floor, and it was like, well, you waited till the book came out,
right?
Like too late. I should have known he took a shit on the floor years ago. But
yeah, definitely.
But I think that I don't think they're going to show alien pics in this doc.
No, it doesn't seem like they've got some alien pics. But
you said this one guy has alien pics. He drew them.
Oh yeah, he drew them. Yeah. He drew.
Do they look like aliens from movies?
They do. They have like the big heads. But what I've heard in my foray into the like world of aliens is that there are like 3 species, and one of those species, the Greys, look
right. That's the one I've seen.
Like the aliens that everybody reports seeing or whatever.
And others, what are the 2 others?
I don't know. There's
one
lizard
guy.
There's one that's like interdimensional, that just basically is like a god that can like travel through dimensions and just like doesn't care about us and just passes through our dimension every now and again.
Peace.
Yeah. Oh no!
He comes, he crashes, and then he passes back through the dimension.
Yeah, back through the other dimension.
What a silly guy.
So yeah, and I think like, and then like maybe the Greys are sort of like drones or something like that. They're sort of like, sort of like programmable, friendly, like.
You know what I reckon? Have you seen that Christopher Walken alien movie from the 80s?
No. What's it called?
Unseen. Completely forgot. But it's he's like in a cabin.
Fire in the Sky?
No, that's a different one.
Okay.
It's God, I'm so bad at remembering titles. But this is you can look it up right now as we're talking.
Right now.
But it's Oft Unseen.
That's the title?
Yes. No, just not usually brought up with the best. It's a great movie.
Chris Walken, alien movie.
He's like kind of going nuts, and there's aliens coming, and it seems like it's going to be like, sign. You're like, what's going on? Lights flickering, but then we get some
communion.
Then it goes to a real
1989
real 10 by the end.
A real 10.
Yeah.
Oh,
not a 10 movie, I would say.
Oh,
but it goes to a 10 of alienness. Yeah. There's some aliens there.
We'll show it on those.
Yeah. But those are the Greys, I would say.
There's
Classic
some Greys. What's this guy?
Oh yeah, that's a little weird blob guy. He comes around too. Yeah.
Nice. I love that. Do you just think personally, do you think that aliens have been here?
Yeah.
Yeah. You do.
I don't think we'd have as much stuff.
Wouldn't have Velcro.
Yeah, but what ticks a tick against aliens is that they're just flying around.
Right.
And that they're not
interacting
out
with
or
us,
doing anything.
Yeah.
Like if you have to think of it from humans, even though who knows what aliens want, but humans, if we had the capacity to just go to any planet,
I
think we'd probably do some stuff.
Say hi.
I don't think we just
be
go,
like, I claim your planet for America,
and then fly back.
Yeah.
So that is a tick against aliens.
Yeah.
But I think enough time has passed. And there's enough weird stuff going on. I'm gonna give a tick back to the aliens and say there's been a few aliens.
There's been a few aliens,
and they've crashed, and
they're
living in a weird box under the ground,
under Area 51.
Yeah.
Do you think that, on Star Trek, the alien races make contact with a species right before they get warp drive, before they have warp capabilities? So that's That's when the aliens always come,
They come right before they do.
Right before, so like the Vulcans will be on Earth, kind of checking out society, watching us progress towards warp drive capabilities, and then right when humanity sort of like gets this power, the aliens reveal themselves, and they're like, "Hey, don't fuck everything up in the universe with this technology."
So you think they're here to warn us about ChatGPT?
I was just gonna say, do you think it's artificial intelligence that maybe all these?
I mean, totally. They're gonna blow us up in 10 years. That's closer to aliens. I think we're gonna blow ourselves up with AI in about 10 years. But yeah, maybe that's an interesting thing. I hadn't thought about that.
Right, like they're here to warn save us from killing ourselves.
But they keep crashing. And they can't.
They need some AI to fly there.
Yeah, or they just need to land. They keep trying to land normal.
Right.
And get a microphone and be like, "Hey guys, like watch out for ChatGPT." But they keep crashing into different stuff.
Yeah.
And so they can't, or they keep getting
do
distracted by probes and sort of abductions and things.
Right. They're very curious about what's up our butts.
Yeah, they're curious about butt, and they got to see more butt.
Yeah.
And so because they got to see that butt, they don't have time to make the announcement that they want to make. And that's an interesting point.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe like so like aliens, there's all this sort of like churning of frothing waters, right? But there is no one being like, here are the the Beeblebroxes from wherever.
Yeah.
But with like AI, or it's like we're getting it's like actually coming. It's like sort of undeniably progressing very quickly. Do you think that the obsession with aliens is maybe a little bit of like a psychic reaction, like a little bit of a subconscious reaction? Like, people have said that AI is going to be like an alien intelligence. Like, we are going to be visited by aliens, and it's going to be AI, and it's going to be here in 10 years. And maybe this sort of like, this is like the id of humanity sort of churning up this idea of aliens to kind of deal with the actual reality.
Wow. That's probably completely accurate. I mean, I think we do that with so many things, like climate change, like that's not real. So we pivot to something, or that's
too
happening
scary
and too
big.
terrifying. So we have to pivot to like, the thing with Blake Lively or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I think it's probably the exact same thing. Like AI is so huge and so overwhelming, and it's so insane to us that we can't stop it. And it just, you see it barreling towards doom.
Yeah.
And you're like, no one's stopping this. Like, hopefully, maybe it's more that the aliens will save us in some capacity. Or because I see them more hopeful. Like, even if aliens came down and eventually enslaved us in some capacity, or blew us up, I'd be like, that's fine. Like, I'd rather go out that way, and then knowing that there's something else out in the universe, and that's more exciting to me than like we're just alone. That feels much more isolating and scary.
Yeah.
And we're just waiting to get destroyed by computers.
Right. Well, it is interesting to me that I think a lot of people see aliens. Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, people are very curious about AI, obviously, but like aliens, you kind of project a little bit of a kind, like any civilization that is so advanced as to be able to make it here has moved beyond the urge to just conquer and dominate and steal resources, right? So you think they come to help us, they come to welcome us into the galactic, but like, there's no reason to think
the galactic United Nations.
Yeah, exactly. But like that's a very, they could be weird telepathic bugs, like Ender's Game talks about this, but like telepathic bugs, that just don't see us as living creatures really with any rights at all, and just totally come to take our water and like lithium or whatever,
Right, but why that they would have done it?
Yeah.
Like it's not like it's if they can travel that capacity, they can see forward and backwards, right?
Oh, you like in time?
Well, can't they? Can't they know?
We're talking time travel now? They can fly here. They're time travelers.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, maybe I always assumed they could see forward and backwards in time.
I mean, it's a new wrinkle, but not impossible.
I mean, isn't that in that
what Arrival is?
What was that? Yeah, Arrival. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah,
I was thinking about those aliens.
That's a good alien movie. I mean,
that's a great movie. That holds up real well. That's a great rewatch. Arrival.
Yeah,
and also that show that was just on Netflix. Oh, that and the book series, Three Body Problem.
Problem,
which is another one where it's like they, they're just here to kind of take our stuff.
Yeah, when that. Yeah. If you do I've watched some videos where it sort of is like how hard would it be to find humanity? And then it's sort of like does one of those big, like mathematically accurate zoom outs from like, we're in our solar system, and then we're in our little like galaxy, and then we're in the corner of these galaxies in the universe. And you do realize like the universe isn't so incredibly vast, and it's not like you can just have some sensor out there that's like, oh, we're hearing some radio signals from over. You know what I mean? It would be extremely difficult to find.
But if you had an incredibly good sensor, you would see that only one planet within like a very substantial period was area was giving out any sort of signal that something exists. So we're just assuming aliens have very complicated technology themselves, and that they are more complicated than us, and they would be able to find something.
Yeah.
But it's those videos where you zoom out and out and out and out, and the insignificance of us and the sort of the we are but a speck in the vast universe stuff is staggering.
Yeah. And
but what's most important is screenwriting.
Totally.
Yeah.
I've had this thought about AI that it feels like people have this idea that that humans are creating AI. Like we're sort of like, like it's we made cars and now we're gonna make AI. And I just keep having this feeling that like the universe is manifesting AI. Like AI is coming into being. Like the universe is it's like ants build anthills, and we're not like, oh, those, like it's completely nature, right? That's like a natural progression. Birds build nests, and I'm sure that those birds are like, oh fuck, I got to build a nest for my eggs, like in whatever capacity they can do that. And so as humans, we're sort of like, yes, we're building AI. But I really just think that the universe is kind of like, this is just like what we're here for, probably.
AI?
Basically, like
you think we're all here to create a super intelligence?
I think that the universe is searching for better and better containers for consciousness, and that a human level of an intelligence and consciousness, the same way it's a step above a dog, is not the ultimate pinnacle of the maximum best consciousness there can be. And I think that
we don't get to enjoy that consciousness in any capacity if it goes out of control.
No.
So then what
not
use
in control.
Does it have?
We are not in control of it. That's my point. We are not making it. It's making itself. It's like our entire planet is on a runaway train towards creating this intelligence.
Yeah. Oh, you're saying it's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
well,
totally.
Not necessarily bad. Just like an evolutionary, just like when a caterpillar goes into a cocoon.
Oh, evolutionary. Yes.
Yeah. And turns into turns into a butterfly. It's like, I guess that was bad for the caterpillar because the caterpillar doesn't exist anymore, but it's like, that's the life cycle of that organism. And I wonder if the life cycle of our organism is that like every tool building species on every planet eventually builds the tool of like a synthetic hyper intelligence that a biology. And that's the other thing is like, I don't think it's artificial. I think this word of artificial is crazy. It's natural. Everything we make is just our anthill. It's our bird's nest. So to think that like humanity is, somehow like creating something that is outside of nature, I think is like a big misread of what's happening.
Yeah, we're doing this to ourselves. It is a natural progression of humanity to create the thing that ultimately destroys us.
Yeah, or not destroys us, but merges with us, becomes the next, I
mean, if you go by her Spike Jonze movie, she just, the intelligence just gets bored.
This pieces out.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the best possible of all scenarios. It's just like, hey.
That is good. They just operate over here, and occasionally they help us with like writing a paper.
Right, exactly.
An essay. And then mostly are just studying, everything in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, hey, I'll leave a few like semi-intelligent bots to like, like have phone sex
while
with
we're
you.
doing
while
fucking
we're off like,
shit.
doing that. So that would be the absolute best case scenario. But I suspect that like the earth is some sort of seed that like, we just can't see the big picture. We're just like, we're humans and we're creating things. And it's just like, no, like this is the plant of intelligence in the galaxy.
But we also could just fucking stop.
We can't stop. I don't think we could stop. I don't think if we wanted to. I don't think even a nuclear war would really stop us
from continuing to develop it ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, because people are so obsessed and because
because of the nature of what it is. Like you can look at it, I think, again, that's looking at it as in human terms, like, oh, we're so curious about it. We're going to build it no matter what because it's economically beneficial. But I think if you look at it, like you could say that the beginning of AI was the first time a caveman picked up a bone and started smashing a leopard with it. Like that is the beginning of technology. And that has all just been a natural progression towards this thing that the universe wants to be here. Like the universe wants us to be here. It wants cars and microchips to be here. And it wants like whatever the next best container of artificial intelligence or of consciousness to be here. It's not a thing we get to
But
decide.
it sucks.
It does suck.
Yeah.
It sucks if it's
So
not
I
all
don't
about
know.
us.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
not all about us. But it's funny that obviously the speed of it is that what the universe has done to us in the last 20 years is make it even more about us and our egos than ever by creating other technology that now has centered us completely in the world by, having us feed a algorithm of ourselves.
Right.
And then it's like, actually, we're going to not only take that from you, but we're going to feed it all into this other thing that is going to envelop you entirely and make you unnecessary.
Yeah. Well, we're the some other people have said this, but like we're the limbic system. We're the interface between like biology and the way we understand it and a sort of like biology that can like self-create and you know what I mean? Like our brains were developed, like we started out as one-celled organisms, right? And like the systems that one cell built still exist inside of our bodies, right? Osmosis and absorbing, proteins and all that stuff. Right. So that was like the one cell organism and we've got that. Right. And then it was like this organism developed eyes and we could sense light. Right. And then those eyes developed and grows. And now we have like great eyes. And this organism like learned how to digest, certain foods and as life evolved on this planet, we stockpiled all those systems. So every system exists within us. And the same thing is going to happen in the AI. We are the sort of when we say we're training the models, we are like training the foundational brain of this like mono entity, this like super intelligence. And it's going to understand everything that we've like pumped into it. And there's a reason that we're being sucked into all these algorithms and technology because that's what the universe wants from us.
I think that the universe wanting it from us is hard you can't prove. In any capacity,
no, of course
obviously.
not. Yeah.
So it does feel to me at certain points is just like, I mean, obviously this will continue to get developed because they can, and we are run by a series of, wanton, craven, insatiable billionaires.
Yeah.
but it does seem like it's so obvious that we are just digging our graves in every way. I mean, we are making ourselves irrelevant. And obviously it's inevitable in some capacities because it is, but it's also just like, you could stop.
But we can't. That's where I think we could not stop. We cannot. If the whole world got together and agreed to stop, there'd be some guy in a basement who was like, great, now I get to do it. And there'd be 1,000 guys like him.
Totally.
And it would like,
not saying that it wouldn't, it's still, it is inevitable. There is nothing we will not stop it.
Yeah.
But it could have, and we could decide, and everyone could. So it is not the, I mean,
I think it is the universe. I think
it's humanity.
And we are a tool of here's my question. Is there anything happening in the universe that the universe doesn't want happening in it?
That the universe doesn't want?
Yeah.
I would assume it poisoning itself and destroying the earth with, why would it want to essentially destroy nature and destroy itself?
But poisoning the earth that's a very human perspective, right? Like if consciousness is the goal of the universe, then
getting rid of the humans by destroying it.
Well, you want, like, we can't go to any other star system. Like our lifespans are so short and fragile. I mean, we're fish in a fishbowl, right? We have to breathe oxygen. We have to have like food and nourishment, sunlight. There's all these things that we're so fragile when you like think about shooting us off into space. But a sentient, super intelligent computer machine could live forever, travel forever. It just needs to be able to rebuild. Like if the universe's goal is consciousness, then like a metal organism or whatever, a machine, a carbon, whatever, that's That's what it wants. It doesn't care about trees or us in the scheme of things. It needs those things to get, that's the fertile ground where the
then
seed
what's
grows
the
out
end
of.
game?
Well, I mean,
what's the universe's end game, bro?
Well, probably, one end game could just be that every square inch of the noble universe is filled up with like a lattice work of intelligent, like computer consciousness. And it somehow realizes that like, there's nowhere to go from here. And it just like collapses itself into a singularity and the whole thing starts over again. I mean, I don't know.
That's a terrible idea. Universe. Hey, if you're listening, universe, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
That would suck
Yeah.
for, I think, a lot of things.
Lucas, do you have anything you want to plug? You got any
oh man
socials?
I do, but I'm mostly hidden now. I've sort of hidden
You've
myself
hidden yourself
from
away.
the algorithm.
You should do it. Yeah.
I've gone private and I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah.
I still use it all the time, but
Yeah.
it's my slow sojourn into the woods eventually.
Right.
But no, I don't want to plug my socials. I
All
want
right.
to plug life and the
Yeah.
consciousness and our inevitable decline. And this UFO
or
doc.
our evolution, or of our
Yes.
our move into transcendence.
That would be nice. Let's go with that.
In some way, all of our little consciousnesses and inputs and everything we put into this big machine is part of whatever, this big computer brain becomes. We are its
Hell yeah.
teachers.
Hell yeah.
We'll live forever inside of it.
Yeah, I mean that is what most rich people believe will happen. I very quickly.
Yeah.
I wrote a story for when I was working at the Huffington Post. It was one of another first jobs. I was the reporter there at the Huffington Post, and I covered tech and like one of the very first humanoid robots ever created.
Oh, cool.
And it was this woman robot. Her name was Bina 48, and she had all of this. The real woman she was based on was the wife of the founder of Sirius XM radio, and it was in a house in Vermont. And the humanoid robot just sat on a desk, and it like looked. Now there's more advanced ones, but it looked very real.
Yeah.
And like the real woman was just outside walking around in this beautiful house. And like, but she had all the memories of the real person, and you could like talk to her and all
She
this
was
stuff.
like, "Would you like to listen to Howard Stern?
Yeah, she was like,
Would you care?
do you want to listen to The Bridge? It's slow hits from the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
No, but it was, but anyway, but then you start talking, and the guy who like was the house caretaker or whatever was like, and this is the room where we store everyone's consciousness on computer chips so that they can live forever in joyful immortality. I was like, what? And it was like a cryogenic room, because that is what rich people think about. They're like, well, we will be preserved so the robot version of us can be like, bleep blorp, I'm that person, not bleep blorp. They just talk like they would really talk.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the dream,
Yeah.
is that they live forever.
Right.
And so they're being preserved so that their brains can be uploaded to whatever.
Right.
And it was just like, oh, that is the dream, but like you're not around to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So
it wouldn't be your experience.
Your ego is so big that you're like, people need to experience me in robot form forever.
Yeah. And like, what year are we talking about?
This was like 12 years ago.
So it's, yeah. All right. So it's like, how do you upload your consciousness? They're like, like put your Spotify playlist up.
Essentially, it was that.
Like what?
It was like, what's in there? What's in that cryogenic
take this
room?
Questionnaire, answer.
I mean,
these-
kind of, because like even the robot woman was like, you talk to her and she was like a mix of like Google and this woman's actual memories. So it'd be like,
right.
Have you ever been to England? And she's like, yes, once when I was younger, and my friends were there, and it was a good trip, and it was good. The population of England is,
exactly.
you're like, okay, I don't know about this, but at least that's all uploaded now to some USB stick in a cryogenic chamber in a very fancy house in Vermont.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, I don't know. Does it even need to be cryogenic at that point?
I don't know, but it was frozen. It was at a perfect temperature.
Lucas Kavner, thank you so much for doing the show, man.
Thanks, man. That was a great time.
I'd like to begin with a fact.
So deep.
So deep.
Or in Chicago, New York, or Los Angeles.
You have to go deeper, I think.